I'm going to share this via Zoom. So the olive green stuff, I highlighted all the beginning and ending of our modules. And I wanted you to take a look at it because when you just look at all this pseudocode, it can be kind of just a whole bunch of words that run together. So let's just focus first on all of the different modules or functions or subprograms that the pseudocode says we should have. Because one thing that the assignment wants is a data flow diagram. So to do a data flow diagram, it's really going to help me if I know what all modules are involved. You could use Visio for your data flow diagram, but we haven't really used that a lot. Some people used Word, and I think that worked really well. So let's open Word, and let's create a new document. And I'm going to go ahead and change this layout to, oh, you too, thank you. Change my orientation to landscape so we can use it a little bit more like that. Now with Word, I'm not going to get really fancy with this data flow diagram. That's okay. You don't have to get really fancy with it. Yeah, you could use Visual Studio, but I just use Word.
I put it.
Oh, it opened Visual Studio for you. Okay, so I'm going to go to my insert menu, and I'm going to insert a shape, and I just want this rectangle. And I'm going to put this first rectangle kind of in the middle, and I'm just going to double click on it. Come on, Word. Oh, Word's not letting me do text, so I'm going to have to right click and say add text. Sometimes Word makes you do that, sometimes it doesn't. This is going to be my main. Now I can add another shape, or I can copy this one. You know, with Word, sometimes it's a bear to copy. But if I get it selected, I should be able to Control C and then Control V to just make a copy of that. And the first function besides our main is draw card. Okay, so right here we've got our draw card function. I'm going to put that on our data flow diagram. Oh, I just copied and pasted. No, good question. You just asked. Make sure you're not clicked on your current one. Now, when I draw a card and in my main, neither one has any parameters. So I'm okay with them. Now, I'm going to do a Control V again to paste again. Make sure you can paste again. Does it work? Rebecca, will it let you? Paste again. I've got this new box that's going to be another function, and as I look through our pseudocode, the next one I see is process cards. So I'm going to need a box for that. Process cards. Process cards, though, requires parameters. Did you get it? Let's see what it's doing.
He got one, and I cannot figure out how to do it. It's being a butthead.
Okay. No. Yeah, now you should be able to right click and copy on it. But you have to go back to it. No, now press escape. Okay. Now right click and copy without going on to something else. So when you press escape, the way Word is really weird. When you first select your shape, it actually puts you at the change the word. We don't want to get edited, we just want the shape selected. So I tell you to press escape sometimes so that it's just selected. Yeah, because
Yeah, I see what you did. I
Do
see,
ya?
yeah, you had the triangle, the diamond. You've got the diamond.
Then you can copy. So see,
Literally have to be right on.
now click someplace else, you can paste. Do the one down below. Now I'm going to put it right on it, see if you can move it.
Wait, we're supposed to be, I thought we were supposed to code it.
We have to do both.
I don't know what you got.
I don't know, I'm gonna draw it on this paper.
Draw a piece of paper. That's a good idea. Because word is great.
This is like really, yeah.
Plus, it's really easy for us to
It
do
should
this,
be.
except for some things.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next function after draw card, we decided that we have one called process cards. I'm going to move this down where it belongs. And then I'm going to paste again. And we have another function called output draw. Output draw. And then one more. This one, whoops. Paste again. This one is output winner. So that's our very last function.
That middle says process card.
Uh-huh. Now I'm going to try to kind of rearrange things a little bit. Move my process cards over.
And that's output draw.
Output draw and output winner. Now I need to insert some lines to show how these things are connected. So again, in my shapes category, I should be able to find a line. Now you could use the line that has the arrow or the straight line. There's also a bent elbow arrow. I'll try it. Now if you use the bent elbow arrow, you have to kind of stop and click and then keep going for it to make the elbows. I don't know, I can't get it to do it. Make my elbow be over here so that it goes the right direction. And there's one arrow. I know Word is not the best for inserting. Definitely a valid reason to draw by hand.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my main again and try to connect to my process cards. Move that yellow shape to make my line a little bit more organized. And then I'll try one more, insert shapes and align. Now we don't have to use Word to do this. There's all sorts of tools available on the internet for drawing shapes and graphs and things like this because us programmers have to do it so often. So this one we're just kind of in a crunch. I'm going to insert one more line to call my output winner and say, okay, this thing goes over here. Now, because this is a data flow diagram, I need to show how the data flows. When we do a draw card function, I'm going to look at my draw card function in my pseudocode. There it is. And I see that in my draw card function, I'm going to return a number. So I'm going to put that on my data flow diagram. I'm going to double click this line or right click and see if it will let me add text. Yeah, it's not going to let us. So what we want to put in here is a little text box.
Oh my gosh, I hate this line stuff.
I know, it's so annoying. Try to get my text box over here on this line. And then I'm going to change the text that just says O card number. So that's going to be output. Now I know that's super frustrating and I do a lot of messing with Word. So I'm able to put it in there. It might take a little bit more finagling for you. I'm not going to worry about the borders or anything. So that's all I needed for as far as data flow for my draw card function, that it has output of the card number. Now I'm going to look at our process cards function,
What was that little white box you had inserted on there?
just that the output is the card number,
Oh, what kind of shape though?
a text box. There might be a better shape, but I just used a text box. Now process cards, in our process cards function, we actually need to know what the cards are. So we need the player 1 card number and the player 2 card number passed to us. And then we're going to return a value that says who the winner is. It's going to be the number 1 if player 1 is the winner, the number 2 if player 2 is the winner, and 0 if they tied. So I'm going to try to put that data on my data flow diagram. I'm going to use another text box. And I'll just move it out of my way to type what I need in it. My input here is going to be player 1 card number, player 2 card number, and then my output is going to be winner. I'm going to change my spacing on that because it's like almost double spaced. And then I'm going to try to fit it up here in this line. Maybe I'll make it a smaller font.
How do you get that?
Yeah, I just typed it. Okay, I think I have it a little smaller. Sorry, we don't have a super good tool to use for doing this. We won't do these data flow diagrams very often, but it's kind of good for you guys to see how it works. I'm going to give you a second on that one. So far we see we are going to call our draw card function twice, once for player 1, once for player 2. We're going to take those numbers that it gives us and pass them to our process cards function, which is going to decide who the winner is. Now our output draw function is just going to write out some messages about it being a new draw, like a new draw of cards. So I'm going to copy this text box and paste it. And I'm going to put it over our output draw function. And our winner is now going to be input. So this function needs all 3 of those things passed to it as inputs. What player 1's card number was, what player 2's card number was, and who the winner was. But it doesn't return anything back, so it doesn't have any output. It only has input. Now I'm going to paste that text box one more time. And for our output winner, that function needs to know the player 1 card number and the player 2 card number. So the reason we have the data flow diagram is to kind of get everything down in a picture for for you so you can see. Oh, this isn't that bad. I have a main and I have 4 other functions. That's all I have. The draw card is just getting a card number, so it's just doing output. The process cards just has a simple if statement. If player 1 beat player 2, set them as the winner. Our output draw does a little bit more work. It prints out what each card number was and who the winner was. And then finally our output winner is going to say who won. Our program could be organized much different than this. This isn't the only way. This is just the way we decided to organize it based on this pseudocode. Now, if you look at your pseudocode some more, all of the yellow, let me back up there. All of the darker green, the forest green color, is where variables values are changed. So if you look through their pseudocode and you find that darker green color, notice we really don't have very many places where we'll be changing our variables.
Can you write on this?
You bet. You write all over it. So these green ones are all places where we change the value of our variables. The aqua blue are all calls to functions. So as you look through that pseudocode, anytime you see that blue, we're calling one of our functions that we should be able to find on our data flow diagram. When we call a function, I highlighted the arguments that we're passing to it in yellow. So function name, arguments being passed.
So the yellow is the argument.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What was the dark green again?
The dark green is a variable that's being updated. The value is being changed in that variable.
And what was the weird army green color?
The olive green,
Yeah.
that was our beginning and ending of each of our functions or modules. So we really could take this pseudocode and put it in Visual Studio Code and change it to be our Python stuff, but I think we could be cleaner if we don't. So let's open Visual Studio Code and let's write this thing. First of all, if I could figure out how to make this thing quit doing some things, I would. Anyways, I want to create a new file. Now I'm going to save my new file. And this is going to be war game. And I want to make it a Python. Make me save first. Okay. Now I can close that. Okay, if you've got a file saved, let's put some comments in.
Oh, wow, we've got one note for a second. I'm sorry. Moving on.
You're okay.
I was like, what are you doing?
And I should have a Zoom session going, so you should be able to connect.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's just the background and the colors look like OneNote. So I was like, how are you doing that in OneNote?
I try to make mine look different than you guys's, and now every time I open it, I'm like, it doesn't look right. But I didn't want it to look the same as yours, because I thought with your Zoom session going, it would be easier if mine were this ugly theme. Huh?
I always forget to open it.
Well, you can open Zoom. Okay, so our purpose here is to play war. Now, the first thing that we have is our main, but we know that Python likes to do things backwards. So we really have to start with our other functions. So I'm going to go to our draw card function. So I'm going to use def to declare our function, and the pseudocode wants it to be named draw card. Now in our pseudocode, it says as integer. Remember, that's what our book wants for pseudocode. It wants us to put that as keyword and what data type our return data will be from this function. So we will be returning an integer. We do know that. Now we want to just do a random number for our card. So we better import that random library so we can do random numbers. So I want random.rand int, and I want my random number to be between 1 and 12, because we want it to be a card. So we'll say there are 12 cards in every suit in a deck. So we want one of those. Do what?
Because it doesn't like skip the last number. So you have to make it, if you want it to be 12, you have to put 13.
Does Python do that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll do 13.
No. I was saying, you're thinking of an array.
Oh,
That's not, you're in an array. What I was thinking was that there are 13 cards in a suit.
There's 12,
Okay, my apologies.
2 through ace. Okay, so I'm going to leave that at 13, assuming that we will get back random values up to, but not including, that ending number.
there are 13 cards.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There's no 1. There's no 1.
No, it is one.
Yeah. And 2, 3, 4,
1
5,
through 10
8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
But that's right, because like
10,
10,
king,
Jack,
queen,
Queen,
king.
King.
Well, we better do 14
no,
then.
that's right. It includes 13 in random.
Does it return 13?
Yes.
Okay, because every language does it different, and you know from all those test questions.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Nope, you're fine. Okay, so I just want to return this number. I don't need to do anything with it in this function. We just need to return it. That's going to be our card. So we could put some comments over here. Random card number. Now notice in our war game, we're not going to worry about whether that card has already been used. We're not going to worry about whether we have 75 sevens. We're just using a random number that is a valid card number. Okay, so that's all we need for our draw card. Now let's do our function to process the 2 cards, because we're going to draw a card for player 1, and then we're going to draw a card for player 2. And now we want to see who's got the larger card. So our process cards needs to know what number each player got. And those will be our parameters. In our function, we're not going to need to have much here. If player 1 is greater than player 2, we're going to return the number 1 to indicate that player number 1 won. If player 1 is less than player 2, we'll return 2. Else, must be a tie, we'll return 0.
Player 2 is greater than player 2.
Oh, Better fix that. And you could do it either way. Player 1 greater, player 2 less,
Now you're
player 2 greater. How's that?
like, stop it. I'm sorry.
I'll mess with you. Which
Okay,
way is
that's fair.
which?
Hey, that's-
Which is
that's fair. Fair enough.
which? Okay, so that looks good, doesn't it? That should pick who won, and then we should get a number returned to us that would tell us who won. Now we're at a really good spot here to back up and work on our main to do a little bit of testing. So I'm going to define my main. And the first thing I want to do in my main is a while loop. But I have to declare my variables for my while loop to make sure that my while loop is properly initialized. So I'm going to say that player 1 draw equals 0 and player 2 draw equals 0. These are going to be our variables that hold that card number. And then we're also going to keep track of their score. So player 1 score equals 0 and player 2 score equals 0. Lastly, since we're initializing everything and making sure it's all starting out correctly, let's go ahead and set up our winner variable too. And we'll start it at 0. Now we want to loop until one player wins 10 times. It's what it says in our specs, that we're not supposed to play forever, just when one player wins 10 times.
I remember as a kid
Uh-huh.
being a war with my best friend, and her dad walked in and asked what game we were playing, and I said war, and he asked who was winning, and she said no one wins at war, and she was like 6.
So deep.
Oh,
Okay, so this is going to be our game loop. We're going to do while player 1 score is less than 10 and player 2 score is less than 10. We can't do an or here because that would end our while prematurely. We want to make sure that both of them have not reached 10 yet. Because if either one reaches 10, we want to stop our loop.
oh, see, now I did it. Player 2, player 2. We're there.
Okay, so while they're both less than 10, the first thing we want to do is go draw a card. So player 1 draw, we're going to use our draw card function to get a card for that player. Our player 2 draw variable, we're going to load it up by calling our draw card function again. Now we should have a card for each player. So we saw that our winner is going to be determined by our process cards function. So we'll say winner equals the return code from process cards, and process cards needs the player 1 draw passed to it and the player 2 draw passed to it, so it knows what cards they got.
In web dev, we just learned JavaScript, and Denise and I were a little shocked that it was fairly similar to Python.
Yep, pretty close, huh? Okay, so we know what our winner is now. So let's go ahead and output that information. We created that function output draw. And in output draw, oops, we have not created that yet. So we better not call it yet.
Well, I mean, we could
We have
another-
process cards. Yeah, let's test this that we have so far. I want to go ahead and go down a few lines and call my main. And I just want to run this and make sure we don't get into any errors. So I'm not doing any debugging or looking to see if anything's right, just making sure that we don't run into any weird Python errors when we try to execute it. So I'm going to press my F5 and choose Python because my configuration is still not right. You might have to do that on that. Where'd you get an error? Let's see if I did too.
I got an error in, I got an error in the main, the error in the winner equals process card, player 1 draw, player 2 draw.
Yeah, I have the same,
And
because
because player 1 is greater
It
greater
says,
than 2.
it
Because
says
it's
player
not
one and
supported,
player
it
two are
says.
undefined. And that player one draw, and player two draw, and player one score, and player two score, and
What?
winner are unused variables.
Mine doesn't say that. Hang on, let me see if what I get. Okay, mine's running without any errors. Let's have one of you guys that's getting some errors take over here so we can see. Go ahead and, Maya, are you gonna take it over?
Get Zoom started.
How about you guys, you good?
We have to have the function names have to have a lowercase letter or the module name.
Nope, they should, but we're okay either way. And our pseudocode had uppercase.
yes, same problem is the winner is
Unused. And that should just be a warning, so that's okay.
Of course, Zoom is not installed on the computer.
That's okay. It probably will have to download for you. I think it does for each person because it sneaks into the user profile to get installed.
Share. This is the error.
So show me your draw card up above. Put the word return right at the beginning of that line
Right, like
before your random. So we want it on the same line so that it returns that random number. And then make sure to tab in front of that return so it's not, right now it's not spaced properly. Python's going to complain. No, the word return. Press tab.
it was.
There you go.
It was.
It was like a space over, so it would have complained.
Now it works.
Now it's working. How's yours, Rebecca?
Let me look at his real quick.
Do you have that word return at the beginning of your draw card?
Yeah, I have that.
Excellent to share.
You want to share yours, or do you have the Zoom session going?
I'm checking real quick. Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and share.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know what I've done wrong.
Let's run it. It looks good. You fixed it.
Oh, okay.
I think you're okay.
All these problems.
Don't worry about those.
Okay.
They're all warnings. Yeah, you're okay. I think. We'll see. We'll catch it if it's not. Okay, so I want to continue on now. We tested our first two functions. We think they're good. So right after your process cards function, let's add another one. After process cards, let's create a function called output draw. Now our output draw function is going to take player one's card, player two's card, and the winner. And I'm going to make them really short variable names. Now let's do our outputting here. We're going to output a little message that says this is a new card draw. And then after that new draw message, we're going to write out number 1, and our player 1 number, and then number 2, and our player 2 number. And finally, our last print, we're going to print out winner, player, and then our winner. And then I want to add an exclamation point. Now, notice that with these prints, I've used commas instead of plus signs. So the whole semester, I've used plus signs to add our string output for our output. But with Python, we can use commas, and Python will automatically convert our numbers to strings. Now, I didn't want you to use that because no other programming languages do that. So I wanted you to get used to converting to a string, which you have, but this output should be similar. We'll see if we like it. And then we need one more function. This one is our output for our winner. Now, to output our winner, again, we need to know our player 1 card number and our player 2 card number, and then we're going to figure it out from there.
Is there any, if you can't, that's fine, but I was trying to fix what I had to move.
Uh-huh. Where are you at?
Okay, I got the player 1 draw, player 2 1 score, and then I did the while, and then the winner. And then, okay, you did. I'm right. I'm after that.
Okay, so we backed back up.
Oh, you back. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's okay.
I was like, how did she typo that back?
No, that's why.
Okay,
That's why you can't find it. So under our output draw, we're actually under process cards, we created output draw.
Oh, okay.
And now we're creating output winner. So these two are going to be our new ones. So for outputting our winner, we're going to print out a message first that says final scores player 1. And then we're going to list player 1's score. And then player 2. And after that, we'll list player 2's score. Now, because we didn't pass our winner to this function, we have to do an if statement again. If P1 greater than P2, we're going to print player 1 is the winner. If P1 less than P2, we'll print out player 2 is the winner. And then finally, else, we'll print out tie. And I don't know if it's even possible to have a tie with that many rounds, but I guess anything's possible. So we are almost done. I'm going to leave that there just for a minute for everybody to get it. You're fine. And then we're going to finish our main and we'll be all done.
Wait a minute, why commas? Wouldn't it be plus?
Right. It's an alternative way of doing it with Python, just to mess with you.
Of course. You know, we did mess with her.
Mhm.
Well, in reality, we kind of helped.
A little bit. So through October, I did questions for Cengage for their new database book. And now apparently Cengage has like gone bankrupt or something, and nobody will reply to my emails, and I don't think I'm going to get paid. I think I'm going to get robbed. Yes,
Wait,
it's
say that
$1,000 that they owe me.
Wait, the city's bankrupt?
I don't know what's going on. I just got weird emails that all of their people have been let go, and I can't get anybody to reply to my emails.
Aren't that used in classes?
Yes.
Yes, they are.
So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, we all do. We all do. No, it won't. It won't. You guys are where they're making their money. I'm costing them money. As long as you're where they're making the money, they'll do everything they can for you. You guys will be okay. They've just had a lot of struggles with adapting to this new environment. Like you say, the ebooks are good, but then they take them away from you, and there's some issues.
Well, I don't.
I hate how I have to pay for the ebooks, but I can't keep them after the semester.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
Well,
Yeah.
And I had to pay for a month. They don't even sell our ebook.
you have to rent it.
Oh.
Rent it online, or if you want to go buy it online, it's $250.
Oh my goodness.
Money.
Mine charges $160.
Right, but
Did
that's
they lower it?
renting.
Okay, let's finish it.
Mine was $8 to rent.
Okay, in our game loop, we are saying that for every time we loop through, we're going to draw 2 cards. We're going to pick a winner. Now, we need to use our output draw method. And our output draw method wants the player 1 draw, player 2 draw, and our winner. So that should take care of outputting our draw. Now, we have to up the score though. So if our winner equals 1, we want player 1 score plus equal 1. And remember, that's the same as saying player 1 score equal player 1 score plus 1. Just a shortcut. And if the winner equals 2, we want to up player 2's score by adding 1. So we're going to keep doing all of these things while our while loop is true, while our condition is true. When one of our players finally gets a score that's 10, that's going to drop us out of our while loop. So let's backspace to get out of our while loop. And once our while loop is done, we want to call our output winner function. And we want to send it player one's score, player two's score. Remember, so far we've been passing the draw. This time we're actually passing the score. And that should be enough for it to figure out who our winner is. And we are right on time. That should be it. Let's try it.
Oh, hold on.
Now I used a little bit different variable names than the pseudocode. So it would be really a good idea for you to print this code off, kind of compare it to the pseudocode, and really think about what each line is doing. I'm going to try to run mine to make sure there's not any problems.
There was one,
Oh, hi.
So you should just see all this stuff. Player 1, 10, 10, player 2, 12.
Draw cards, apparently, by the time.
Now my program won't even run.
Why not?
Yeah, for me, it's working.
Yay, if it works, put it in.
I thought I had it. No, I have output. Wait, where? Let's go.
yeah, I don't think you got
After the
output.
while.
Yeah, we both missed the output winner part.
No, I have output winner right
Oh,
here.
you missed the draw.
Make sure it's outside of your while.
I have the output draw too. I'm guessing.
Can you push that back up to the output?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so it's okay.
No, I mean, at the very top, the ones we added in, I only got the.
Uh-huh, sure.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a slow typer.
Mine works, but mine goes forever.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Hang on, let me get back up there.
No worries. Okay, good.
Do you think that it's broken?
Somewhere.
Now I try to run it and it's just.
I don't know, we got the right place. Oh, yes.
Did we ever define what W was?
Here it is.
So when it gets down to your if statement, it's not
Where are the steps that we just done?
Did that fix it? I see other things that I need to relate it to as well.
Okay.
I'm sorry, if you can't read my writing. It's
Well,
all
yeah.
I should have
I
been.
can read
done.
everything.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Oh, right, after the one.
Just scrape
Put
it.
it in. So it's
Oh, there we
like
go.
a plus
We
sign.
didn't.
It got scared.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
turn me.
right. You know, play it, you-
Because the chat flow. Not the.
It says there's no value for the argument W.
So see, where is it talking about?
When I click on it, it goes to output winner.
That one that's done every line. I'm doing something wrong. Is it a winner? No.
No, that's like 1 and 2. That's right.
Okay.
It's saying W is undefined.
Player 2 is 0.
Oh,
That's 9.
it's written in white.
That's good. Looks like it's working. Think it is. Think it is. Oh, think it is. Don't forget the data. Just work. Oh, awesome. Turn in. Okay. I'll talk to you guys a little bit, but not much. No, we had trouble with that one.
Why does it keep popping up glitch in it? Not even open.
And then mine does too. It's something weird about that folder. So whenever you're outputting, go to your output. So the outside of That should be even with the Washington, not way
Okay.
out there. So that's, that should be. So what is that variable name in the main? So make it bigger. So we made a W down in that function. So where is it at? What line?
Once we do it, we can.
Why are those ends? Look at your code, where's the one and you work with it. Isn't it? Everything
And once we do it, we
so
can.
you can't just have stuff outdated and then go back to inventing. Everything, including output. Make sure all of these are part of your bio. These are not.
So it's out then?
That would make it further in your bio. Shouldn't it be inside the bio? What about output job?
Yeah.
Right now, output job and your wires.
What? That's a, those switch more of ours.
Work Friday.
And we look at that.
Never, it's the end of the week.
Nice in the other languages where you see a little bit more. Ah, there it goes. Awesome, like it's working. Check it out. See if it's good.
Okay, so I've got a sentence right here. Should I? Oh, yeah, I've got the P1, P2. So
Is
what?
there something that?
Oh, yes. Yep, yep.
Good.
There. No,
Take that one off. So we only want the colon.
that's good. If it's not that hard, I should be all right. I found a better type. Just oh, mine goes. But it's not. You're welcome. Oh, there. Oh, I don't have the C. I need the C. I probably spelled
Undefined variable process code. So let's go look at your def statement.
Yeah, I made some mistakes because I typed slowly.
Oh, I see. No, you didn't. So this one has uppercase P.
Okay. Yep.
So just make sure those are all the same, because you guys are absolutely right that we want to use lowercase function names, but that's sort of
What are you gonna do for Thanksgiving?
He's like,
To with my family.
Okay, so you got stuff to do, you're
Yeah,
not skipping,
yeah.
like, good deal.
You
Have
guys
fun,
are-
don't eat too much.
Yeah, we guys are all together. Plenty of people from South Dakota, from Texas, so all the family coming.
Oh, good. Okay, don't eat too much. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
I'll put one on this one is correct. Just
like, just like my output draw up to the same, so why is it?
I'm gonna save it and see what it
Let me
says.
see something there. Hold on, it maybe since it fits the 160.
Mhm.
No,
No, so-
and it's showing the same thing. Output draw.
Okay, so here's- go back to it. Oh, it's not all in. I see typo.
Oh, I do too.
Get that all cleaned up for me.
I hate how you moved the bag of wires over there.
Huh?
You moved the bag of wires
Oh.
over there. Man, these headphones charge so fast and they last 3 days on a full charge. They
Nice.
die.
So let's be space.
So where are you? Oh, look, it's another typo. Look at your player one within your parentheses. Why does it not like player one, but it likes player two? Do you see that uppercase P?
Oh,
It's almost hard to see that
It is,
beside those
it is.
parentheses. And
Okay.
So we'll be presenting our Raspberry Pi thing.
No, those are just to turn in.
Oh,
You
okay.
don't present. Wow. Just for me.
So for the breadboard, the rainbow wire doesn't come off, right?
Right.
oh, it does for me to play it.
Mhm.
No,
Draw cards. in parentheses.
Okay. Now, where do we put these away?
Oh, I'll take them. Thank y'all. No, after the draw card function itself, since it's a function, we need to have open and close parentheses because we're not
Around
passing
the
any
whole thing?
parameters. Nope, just after the name draw card.
oh, I'm thinking,
Since we're not passing it anything, we have to have open and close parentheses.
Oh.
So it knows that that's a
Like that.
function, yeah.
oh.
Let's see, that should
I
make a
think
big
these are the
difference. And
little
I don't know
things that
why.
I missed and
Yeah.
somehow.
So, okay, so. Oh, and player two scored greater than 10. Is player two scored greater than 10?
No, so what
So make that while they should both be less than 10. Because we want to stop playing as soon as somebody gets 10 points. There you go.
Okay, I'll see you.
Have a great Thanksgiving. There
Yes,
it goes. And it just
Somebody
spits
win.
everything out. How come nobody's winning? Okay, that looks like nobody's going to win. Mhm. I think. Can you push something here? See that one? Does that drop? Beside the one? Nope. Sometimes it has that little stop button. So I guess just click down here and do Control C. Did you click down there?
Not funny.
Stop it. Okay, I had to control C twice, I guess. I don't know why I was taking out what's going on. Okay, so why is that? Let's see your phone.
Where'd it go?
Control Z or
No,
something.
we went into a different.
Oh, okay, good. I was like, where'd it go? Okay, so now we're saying, we're gonna run this. I'll call it 1 sports lesson time, or 2 sports lesson time. And right here.
Should that be spaced out?
It should be. So this all looks right, so it must be in our process calls function. Let's find it. So in process calls, scroll down, I don't see it. It's hard to say, right?
No, we seem pretty cool there.
No, everything looks good.
I keep having
Everything's
problems
good.
with Busy, and I'm starting to wonder if I've got a bug.
Let's add a line of code after that player 1 score plus equal 1. And let's just do a print statement. So let's do print. And let's just print something like added to player 1 score or something like that. So we see that message. So we know that that actually. And then let's run it. I don't ever see that too. Right. Scroll back up and let's look at some of those messages and see if we see anything weird about them or something. You know, these ones down here. Let's scroll up and see if you can see some of those. I don't know if we can. There's a few.
Emphasis. Draw.
There's that little group there. So let's go look at the messages. Just stop and I mean, we're getting good numbers. It's not like they're all the same or anything.
What am I set to? What are they set to win? Do
Just-
I have a?
Right here, you're saying that if each time they have a higher card, they add to their score.
Yeah,
And if
but
their
no,
score
that's the
gets to
thing.
10,
If the
that's the
player
end.
score is less than 10,
Mhm.
and player's 2 score is less than 10,
Keep playing.
keep playing.
So once their
No, I
score
mean, I
gets
really
to
gotta
be.
hate.
Yep.
I really do.
Take it home and you can turn it in like that if you can't find it. I can't find it.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn this in and resubmit it if I can find it.
Okay, that's a good idea. But I'm sure we can find it. We just need more time.
Oh, no, I'm so.
No, it's just looking really good. And it's really hard when they're so good like that. You just can't find the hidden stuff. Much better.
Thank you for going over this.
Oh, no problem.
Now I just gotta figure out how to do the rest of them, and I still got ones that are.
Different semesters are just always different.
Well, my fear is, because I've got an F in web dev, and I've only, my fear, I can't drop this class below an A, because I can't let my GPA drop below a 2.0.
So did you ever figure out why your folder was empty? That you gave her?
My what?
Your folder, wasn't your folder empty or something? Didn't you say that? When you turned something into her for web dev?
Oh, yeah, I don't know, we never, she actually sat down with me, made some files and said, now, I want to watch you.
Yeah.
I want to see what you're doing. She said, because I know how to zip and unzip.
Right.
But that's the other thing I've got to do is resend you my glitch with the thing. Anyway, and she said, I want to watch what you're doing when you're sending them. It's something that I'm doing when I'm not going back far enough. I'm zipping empty folders instead of going back and zipping up the main folders. Because when we make the projects, it's something that goes out now. And I'm not going out far enough to grab it all. I'm only grabbing like this.
I see.
Anyway, yeah, so she still, it never got changed. So I've got like a 40-something in her class, which is insane. So I'm retaking it because I need to replace that. I can't have that on my GPA. I can't have that on my, if somebody wants to hire me, they're gonna be like, no. Besides, I need to learn that stuff,
Yeah, it's frustrating when it's the file management stuff.
Yeah.
And not the website stuff, but it's all important, I guess.
It is, but.
Okay. That's what I was looking for.
This was a hands-on, right? No, wait. Guess my number, hint.
This one was homework one, yeah.
Yeah, I've got the, wait.
It actually has its own assignment that says the wording.
Okay. There it is. Okay. I've been working on the guess my name or guess my number game. And I believe
She left all these cables. Oh my goodness. If she was in my PC maintenance class, she would have just got it out.
why?
She left these cables hooked up to go with the Raspberry Pi.
Wow.
And she did not plug in the keyboard or mouse. So everybody else would be able to use this computer, and all these other instructors come in here to use these rooms, and I don't have any idea if they're full or empty, but I shouldn't have to go around and babysit people.
No.
And I didn't have to anybody else. Just our baby, I guess. I think she's a little bit like a baby, don't you? When their moms are so overprotective and don't let them do it. Growing up. She's such a good girl.
Well, and I think
She tries so hard.
She said that she's a little slow mentally. She's actually on disability.
She what?
She's on disability for it.
Is she?
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. Because I don't know if she's going to like hit a brick wall. Because she seems to do really good at things, you know. But then they say she's in the tutoring center a lot too, getting help. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Sorry. there's that. Now I just want to make sure that what I've got sent to you for the other assignment is correct, because for the glitch. Okay, what I put in the glitch.
Mhm.
I unzipped